Welcome to the OpenKM webinar. My name is Alex Garcia. I've been with OpenKM USA since it has opened, and with OpenKM since a little before that. If anyone has any questions, they can type it in the chat and I'll get to them as soon as I can. So let's begin the webinar today. Here's the login screen for OpenKM. This logo can be customized to your own companies. And when we see here, we have a language selection. So everyone who logs in can use their own language. OpenKM is available in over 30 languages, but right now we're going to log in with English. When we first log into OpenKM, it takes us to our desktop and our taxonomy. However, this is also customizable. So first we will be looking at our main work areas. The desktop is where we do our main activities with documents. The search allows us to look through our documents on the system. The dashboard allows us to coordinate with other users on the system and keep on top of our own tasks. And administration is where we can customize OpenKM and perform certain administrative activities. The first thing we're going to look at today is some ways that we can upload documents onto OpenKM. Now I've minimized my window, and here we see on the left my desktop. So I'm going to select the folder that I want to put the document in, which is AG Documents. And the simplest way is we can simply click and drag our document into the folder. And here we see that the document has been uploaded. We also have our Add Document button, and this shows us a few important options. One, we can import documents directly from zip files. This is a good way to upload a lot of documents at one time. And these documents, the zip file will be automatically unzipped when it is added to the system. And we can also notify users. This lets us notify users by individual, such as myself, Alex Garcia, or also by role. So for example, all directors or all managers. We can also set up external email addresses who will receive this notification as well. However, in order for them to view this document, they would still need access credentials to OpenKM. So we're going to upload the flyer. And the last way we're going to look at that we can upload documents is our OpenKM scanner plugin. With our scanner plugin, I have this linked to a scanner here in the office. Yeah. So we have a few options here. We can simply scan the documents that we have, or we can convert all of the documents that we scan into a single PDF, or convert them each into their own PDF. We're just going to do a basic scan for now. Now the scanner is scanning in the documents. So now when we look in our images folder, we'll see today's date. You'll see the first page of our plugin test and the second page of our plugin test. Well, once we have these image files, we can also add them to a PDF this way. No, we have to convert it, yes. We can convert them to a PDF. Something new I want to add now that we're doing two at once. So now we see we have a PDF file of the first page of the scanner plugin. However, it's also possible to add an existing image to a PDF. So now, when we look at our PDF, we have both pages. To upload, we simply select all of the files that we want uploaded into OpenKM, and then we have this green upload arrow. When we upload documents, it will put them in the folder listed here, and if we want, we can change this folder by simply clicking. Our upload is completed, so we'll go ahead and come back into the system and refresh. And here are our JPEG image files and our PDF. Next, we'll be looking at the properties of our individual documents and also our folders. Here in the bottom, we see our tabs. The first is the General Properties tab. And I'd also like to note that folders also have a Properties tab. If we come here to our flyer, we'll see that we've already had an update here. Our language has automatically been read by our OCR and determined to be English. And we also have general information such as the internal ID of the document, the name. We can manually add a title to use for searching. We can add keywords. Which are also searchable. And we can add categories. In order to add a category, we simply choose from the options here. Now, these options are for this demo. If you have your own working version of OpenKM, they will all be defined by you. We're going to add our category of marketing and sales to this flyer. And we're also going to go ahead and add region USA. Now, the categories are similar to our taxonomy. However, they are, instead of being the main organizational structure of the taxonomy, they are grouped by the categories. So, for example, when I click on marketing and sales, everything with the category marketing and sales applied to it would show up here. And the same thing for region USA. Moving on, we have our notes. This allows users to add relevant information to individual documents. And also, whenever the document has been updated, we'll also receive a note as well, saying at what time and who updated the document. Next, we will look at the security for OpenKM. This lets us control who is able to do which actions with each individual document and folder on the system. So, for example, myself, Alex Garcia, have full permissions, but our Joomla user here is only able to read. And the security as well is able to be done by either individual user or by role. So, for example, let's say we want to have Joomla user not be able to read this document. So what we can do is we can actually remove them from this list entirely. And if we do that, then Joomla user would not be able to even see this document in this folder, since they have been removed from the list entirely. And this is also possible with folders as well. Next, we'll look at our history. Our sample.docx, a Word document, has an extensive history just for this purpose. This lets us look back through and restore older versions of a document. And it also lets us, if we click the difference here, once this page loads, here we are. We can look at the differences between the selected page and the page we choose here. And what this will do is it will show us side by side. It'll show us side by side the two versions of the same document, and it will highlight any text that does not exist on the other page, as well as adding a small highlight mark on the side of any line where there are changes. This is a good way to get a quick view of the differences between two different versions of a document. Next we have our preview. This is the best view for seeing the contents of the document, as it has the most visual options, as well as a search. There we go. As well as a search. And we can also add highlights, comments, and draw on our documents here. Now this is not saved with the actual document itself. However, if you view it in the system, you will be able to see all of these. And we can also remove them. And this allows us to put information or ask for changes to individual parts of the document. Next, we will look at our relations. Relations is a way for us to link documents together based on predefined criteria. For example, we have our invoice of. So if a certain document is the invoice of another document, we can go through and link these documents together, which allows us to find the document even if it is a different part of the taxonomy or categories, simply by looking at its relations. And each document may have as many relations as it needs, and the exact relation types will also be user defined, so they will be what you need for your instance of OpenKM. Next we'll look at our activity log. This allows us to audit all of the activity on a particular document. Our flyer is very new. So far it has been created and our security has been changed. That show up on the activity log. However, as an administrator, I have a much more powerful version of this that allows me to look over the entire system in the administration tab. We have a few more functions here that allow different users on the system to coordinate on the same document. The forum allows us to create topics, and then users can respond to those topics. And the wiki allows us to create pages, and then you can link pages together. And here we have our workflows, which is linked to our automation functions. In order to show it off, I'll go ahead and start our example. Here we have purchase. Now this works by putting in an amount that we're going to make for some purchase. So here we're going to say $1,000, and we describe it. So I'm opening this workflow on my flyer. So what I'm asking to purchase here is to print copies of flyer. When the workflow has been started, we'll go ahead and refresh. And here we'll see the exact date and time that our workflow was started. And if we click on our graph here, we'll see the map of our workflow. Now these workflows can be as simple or as complex as you need them to be to accomplish what you're looking to do with them. However, this one's pretty simple. When you start the workflow, it goes to a decision point where a preset value determines whether it is cheap or expensive. This workflow was designed to consider 1,000 expensive, so it goes to this node where a manager is asked to either approve or deny of the purchase. So to show this off, we're going to go ahead and log out as myself and log in as a manager. Now we see as soon as we log into the system, we'll get a notification that we have a new workflow task. Now these notifications can also be configured to send emails as well, so you can be notified outside of the system. When we click on Evaluate Price, we'll see the form that was filled out earlier. And of course, we can click on the document itself to see it in the taxonomy if we wish to review it. So we go back to the dashboard, and we're going to go ahead and deny. Now at this point, we could have this configured to send a notification to the original creator of the workflow. However, now we're going to look at how we can see the history of a workflow. So we're going to log back in as myself. And when we look at the workflows of the document, we will see that it has ended. And if we look at the graph here, our map of the workflow, it will simply say that the end state is ended. In order to see the history, we have to click on the spyglass, which will show us even all of the internal actions taken by our automation processes that allow this workflow to function. So here we see when it was created, when it was went to the manager, and here we see that manager denied the request. Now the manager account is a generic one. Normally this would be able to show exactly who denied the request. Next we have the extracted text of the document. Our OCR automatically extracts the full text of any document added to the system in order to make the text searchable. Next we'll move on to an example. We've seen a workflow, but now we're going to see more automation with our Zone OCR automatic catalog function. This example was created for a rental car company in Spain. However, we don't need to speak Spanish in order to be able to follow this example. Here we have some information about cars. For example, the matricula, which is really our registration number, which is the most important for this example, and some other information such as the maker of the car and the model. So we're going to look at this document and pretend that our rental car company is scanning this in to the system about a car rental. So here at A we see the matricula, or registration number, of the particular car, and we're going to remember that it starts with 67. So we're going to copy this. So we're going to copy this JPEG image here into our scanner folder, pretending that this has just been scanned in and added to the system. Now this next step would normally activate automatically were this a working version of this example, but I'm going to go ahead and go under the hood and show off how this works. So here in our cron tab, all of our automation functions are stored. Here we see our Zone OCR automatic catalog. The X here means it is not currently active, so it will not activate automatically. However, we can click this lightning bolt to manually execute it. The screen flashes when it is run, and now we will come back and refresh to see that our image here has been moved. So now we're going to go find it. Now I know that our matricula is a metadata group. Our metadata is linked closely to our automation functions. So I'm going to look for our matricula and search for a matricula that starts with 67. And here, in our search, we can see that our document has been renamed and also been converted into a PDF. And when we click on it, it will take us to the taxonomy where our PDF has been relocated to. So our automation functions with our OCR are able to read the document and determine key pieces of information. So now we see that we have a new matricula tab here, which shows us all the metadata in the matricula group that we have. We can also use our metadata tab here to look up our documents by metadata. For example, we see that our marca was Alfa Romeo, and our document shows up here as well. However, the metadata is also how our automation was able to read the document and learn exactly where to locate it and what to name it to. So for example, it saw the matricula 6788HSK and the type of document permiso de circulación, and renamed it according to those parameters, and then moved it to the taxonomy to the proper folder. And in order to see how our system is able to do this, we need to look at our templates. However, we get a much easier view of this if we go back to the Administration tab, where we can see our OCR templates here, and actually look at the fields. So if we look at our matricula field, we see how our templates actually work in the system. We have a template here in the background, an example version of the document, and we define fields on this template where we look for each piece of information. Now this is very easy to change. We can simply drag this around. And if we look here in the properties of this particular metadata, we see that not only are we able to look at numbers, letters and numbers, and dates, but our OpenKM can also be configured to read barcodes as well and gain information from them to add them to the metadata. Also in the desktop, we have our My Documents folder, where individual users can have personal documents stored. For example, if it's not ready to be added to the taxonomy, or they want their own personal copy that no one else will edit, they can add it here. And we can also archive emails. This lets us store emails from our email accounts that can be linked to OpenKM, and these can also make those emails searchable. And the last zone of our desktop here is our trash, which is simply the recycle bin on your desktop, where anything that is deleted waits before it's permanently removed from the system. So here we see in our search, we can search by where the document is, what type of document, whether it's in the taxonomy, the templates, My Documents, or emails. We can search by content, which is how we can search for text in the document, as well as the name or title, keywords. And we can also search for date ranges. And we have some more advanced, such as specific folders or categories, in addition to being able to search by metadata. On the dashboard, we see that we have our user, which lets us look at documents that we have recently interacted with. For example, last downloaded documents or created documents. And we can also manually subscribe to documents. So whenever a document that is in our list here changes, it will show up as something new. And we can click on the green arrow here to say that we have reviewed them. And when we look at general, we can see not our personal documents, but our ones that are the top in the system. For example, last week, top viewed documents or top downloaded documents. Here we can configure a news update where any information that you'd like to share with the rest of the users can be uploaded. Here we can look over mail with the linked mail accounts. And here is where we link individual mail accounts to OpenKM. Our task system is similar to our workflows in that it lets users request actions from other users. However, this one does not need the tasks do not need to be linked to specific documents. We also have a calendar, so individual users can keep their schedules on the system, so they can access it anywhere where they can access OpenKM. And also a general forum and general wiki for the entire system. Lastly, we have the Administration tab, and this is where we can look at the administration actions and customize OpenKM. But first, I'd like to look at the support. So if we ever need to request support for OpenKM, we can go to this website and sign in. Here we see our new ticket menu, which allows us to create a new ticket to ask for assistance from our technicians. And here we see we need our installation ID, and we find that right here in our home in the Administration tab. Now these support tickets, our technicians will have, when you add a new support ticket, our technicians will have read the support ticket and be able to get back to you on how long it will take to solve your issue within 2 hours. Next we have our configuration. This allows us to change the application for the entire user base. So for example, the logos can be changed here, as well as system messages and other options on the system. Here we have statistics, which gives us pie graphs of different information about the system, so documents by context or document size. And here we have our own memory of the operating system and our disk space to get an overview of the documents and data on the system. Here's where we can create metadata groups and have the properties of individual pieces of metadata. So our matricula. Next we will look at our authentication. This lets us create new users as well as change their roles and also their profiles, which we will look at soon. Here we see myself, Alex Garcia, and my roles, admin and security recursive. Users need at least one role by default, either admin or user. And on top of that, they can have either no additional roles or as many roles as you need in order to give them the permissions that they require to complete their tasks on the system. The profiles allow us to control the view of OpenKM for individual users. So as we see here, I myself have a default profile active, as well as some other users. But we also have IDS and low-level profiles. Our profiles themselves are located in the next tab. And here we can toggle many options and turn off many of these the abilities here we have on OpenKM. So for example, we can activate or deactivate specific workflows, and all the way up to deactivating, for example, the entire desktop. If I were to deactivate the desktop, when I save, I have to exit the system and log back in for the changes to be active. Now when I log in, I only have access to the search, the dashboard, and the administration. So not only large changes like that, but smaller ones can also be changed. So for example, we can turn off the file menu up here, or individual options in the file menu, such as create folder or find folders, as well as these buttons up here. This allows us to greatly streamline OpenKM for certain users. I'm going to go ahead and reactivate my desktop. Here's where we can create new relation types and add them to the system. Here's the activity log. As an administrator, I can look through the activities done on the system. So for example, I can see every time I logged in to the system in the last week. And we have many different actions that we can look through. Anything that has been done on the system can be searched through here and audited. So for example, if I changed some security, if I created a document or deleted a document, or did the same for folders, or did the same for mail, any activity on the system can be found on the activity log by administrators. Here's where workflows can be added to the system. When you have the file for a workflow, you add it here. We also have a stamp ability. So here we can test this out. This allows us to configure its stamps that can be added to documents. The text is fully customizable and can be, so for example, the date here is set to today. We can also add the user who approved it or denied the document. The full text is fully customizable and can be configured to automatically add the correct data to the stamp. Here we have our document expiration options. So OpenKM has a document expiration feature, which allows notifications to be sent out that certain documents are expiring. The cron tab, which, as we've seen earlier, allows us to create and change the options of our automation functions. In addition to our OCR, we have our OMR, which is optical mark recognition, which would allow OpenKM to read not only text and also barcodes, but marks on the paper, such as a checkbox. Here in our Languages tab, we can add new languages, new translations for OpenKM. And in our utilities, we have our full list of more minor options, and also for our plugins here as well. This will end the main portion of the webinar, where I go over the system. So now if there are any further questions, please let me know, and I will address them as best I can. And then when there are questions or wish to know anything more about OpenKM, please contact us by either phone at 646-206-6071, or you can also send us an email to info@openkm.us.